All right, y'all, interest rates are down 0.5%. We're in the mid-low sixes now, but the stats we're seeing for July have really stabilized and I think shown how Austin is kind of finding its new normal. Let's jump into it. What's going on, y'all? It's Mason Bleasdell, your Austin real estate agent, and we're at Malone's Coffee, which is right off of Wells Branch in North Austin. They roast everything in-house, super highly recommended, to talk about some stats, because we're now looking at July closings here for 2024, as everything kind of has been in a weird space lately, just with all the changes going on in the world that of course affects real estate. We have seen in the past 2 weeks, as of the time of recording this video, pretty big drops in the mortgage rates, of course anticipating pricing in the anticipated September Fed drop. We'll see how that continues to evolve into some of these stats. But looking at July, this was a very stable month, as I'll get into here in a second, and I want to talk a little bit more about it. Now, talking to a lot of my colleagues, fellow realtors in this space too, we've seen a big mix of a little bit decreased traffic in terms of listings, our listings going live, and I've seen that across the board. I've got them pretty well scattered around the at least Austin and north suburbs area right now, and we've seen a little bit less traffic lately, which is an interesting one, and I think a lot of that is just how everything is going. But let's dive into a few different things in this video. I want to dive into what's happened in the last 7 days, because that's the best indication of what's going to come for those August statistics. I also want to talk about July of 2024, looking at all of these closings that we've had in a pretty popular month during summer selling season, as well as comparing that to 2023 to take out that element of seasonality and just give you a real perspective on where Austin's at versus last year. So diving straight into it. In the last 7 days, as of recording this video, interesting stats. We've seen 1,102 new listings. This is pretty typical. This is a normal week in real estate, so the same amount of listings are coming live. But interestingly enough, 897 homes went pending. That's down from June. It's actually down from May, April, most of the months actually preceding ever since March. March is typically when we see the most sales start to happen. That's when that spring selling season starts. So this is interesting. Again, I think a lot of changes, and I'll be really curious over the next couple of weeks how these pretty rapid decreases in interest rates continue to affect things. During that same time frame, 2,069 homes did price drops. That has been very interesting lately. With a smaller buyer pool than normal, as kind of indicated by that number of pendings, price drops don't seem to be making very much difference. Some colleagues and I were actually together yesterday talking about this. Price drops have not increased the buyer traffic at some of our listings. It's an interesting one, but there's definitely a lot of pressure right now. And of course, as we continue to see the effects of a 0.5% drop in most cases in interest rates, I'll be curious where this goes to, but this is a stat very, very similar to what we've seen for the past few months. Now, let's look and dive deep into July of 2024. Now, of course, this is Austin's entire metro, so Austin and all of its suburbs, but we saw 3,025 homes closed. That's a little bit down from what's normal, but very, very close. And so, when all the people talk about how the market's crashing and all these things, it's just not true. It's actually up just a hair from June, in fact, as well. So pretty seasonally normal there. We saw an average sales price at $564,000, up ever so slightly from June. Average percent of list price to sales price at 97.5%. Again, that's a little bit lower number than we've seen, post that little spring market. However, still up a little bit from June, showing just a little bit of stability in the market. Average price per square foot also up a little bit to $263, and average days on market also slightly up at 59 days. Again, we can draw a conclusion from this. We've seen a lot more stability in terms of pricing in the market. There's still, of course, we're getting out of that summer selling season. School starts within a week or so of filming this, so we're gonna see a little bit of adjustment here, but we seem pretty stable in terms of pricing. Now, I do want to talk about the medians because this is Austin's entire metro. We saw median sales price at $439,330. Median percent of list price sales price remained the same at 98%. Median price per square foot at $224 per square foot, same as the month prior. And median days on market is at 35. Now, comparing that to 2023, so taking kind of that seasonality element out of these stats to give us a real idea of where we're at. Now, in July 2023, 3,144 homes closed. That's a little bit more typical. Average sales price was $583,000. Average percent list price sales price at 97.7. Average days on market at 56. Same time period, medians 450 sales price, 99% list price sales price ratio for the median, and a median of 29 days on market. Now, what can we take from that? Our market's down ever so slightly in terms of price, and we have been since post-COVID craziness, of course, of 2022. But again, seeming that that's going to be pretty stable. We're in the same kind of ballpark that we were. You know, it was not that long ago where those average and medians were in the high mid $600,000 range. So we're stabilizing, and I think that's a really good thing in general for the entire Austin market. Now, speaking a little bit to what I'm going to anticipate for August, there's a lot of big things going on. Of course, there's a little bit of craziness with everything going on in the stock market. Of course, Japan really affecting the United States in that right now. Obviously, we've got an election coming up. There's a lot of uncertainty around that. We'll see how this continues to affect, but of course, the Fed rate drop expected to come in September has already been priced into mortgage rates. Mortgage rates are always predictive. They're going to look at what's going to happen about 60 days from now. So, you know, rates are right around that 6.5, some even a little bit lower than that. That's going to bring back a lot of affordability, a lot more encouragement in buyers, I do believe. We'll see. A lot of people and the other realtors that I speak with are expecting a pretty solid fall. And then of course, you know, winter tends to be a down month anyways. Most people will withdraw right around Thanksgiving, and we'll go back on market mid-January, not July. But we'll see. It's been a really, really solid summer. Again, we're seeing a lot of stability in the market. I'm very encouraged by some of these interest rate drops, you know, from what were the highest interest rates we've seen in about 20 years. So we'll see how it goes. But if you are curious about buying, if you're curious about selling, and you're interested about, you know, what do these stats look like for you, this is the entire Austin metro. Different neighborhoods are handling this very, very differently. You know, South Austin's very different than Leander, is very different than Liberty Hill, is very different than Buda. If you're curious what this means for you, reach out. I love talking about this stuff. I'd love to, you know, talk about what this means for you, whether you're looking to buy or sell in the different neighborhoods you're looking at. Thanks for watching. I'll see y'all next time.